Hello.
Good morning, Roger.
Is this Congressman Guest?
Yes, sir, it is. It is great to be home this week, and happy Easter to you and the crew.
Hey,
thank
you, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. So here they let you come home from Washington, do they?
That's right. They let us come home for the week of Easter to kind of get back in the district. We've been there 3 weeks straight, and that's generally kind of the cycle, Roger. When we're in session, we'll be in Washington for 3 straight weeks, and then home on the weekend, and then they'll give us a week back home, back in the district, and so this is kind of our trying to get back, reconnect with people across the district, and kind of recharge our batteries, and then we'll get back and start tackling budget reconciliation once again.
Now, I get this picture of you coming home from Washington. Is this the way it works for representatives? You go to the airport there and you go to the private area, and your private jet is there to sweep you up and bring you back to Jackson. Is that how that works?
Yeah, first you get picked up by the limousine at your house to take you to the airport.
Oh, yeah, you forgot that step, yeah.
Waiting for you there, and the limo is waiting when you touch down to whisk you then to Capitol Hill. So, quite the opposite. I fly commercial. I fly coach. I'm on the flight is now a 7:30 a.m. flight. For the first 6 years of my time in office, the flight was at 6 a.m. And so that was me getting up every morning at 4, getting to the airport, getting to D.C., flying up on Monday, and then flying home on Thursday or Friday, depending on kind of what our vote schedule was for the week. So not quite as luxurious as some people envision it. We fly like everybody else. I go through TSA. I have the same battles, making sure that I don't have a water bottle or something.
There you go.
Off the bells and whistles there. But I try to always get a seat by the window, particularly those early morning flights. And then as soon as we get on the flight, I can kind of lay my head back against the plane and try to catch a little bit of sleep on the flight up. So,
have you ever been pulled over?
It's become a little more routine.
Have you ever been pulled off to the side and searched like they do, the random searches? You ever had that?
I have the TSA, and so sometimes I'll get random and have to go through the scanner there. I've never been subject to a pat down. My luggage does periodically get flagged for some additional screening, and so you just know it's part of the process. I mean, they're doing their best to keep us safe, make sure we don't have another 9/11. I know it's inconvenient for those of us that fly, but they're doing an important job, and I try to remember that every time that I get delayed a few minutes there at the checkpoint.
Well, I know you hadn't called for that, but I thought I'd just explore that with folks who try to picture in their mind how do congressmen and women travel.
Not as glamorous as you think.
That's right.
And look, when we're in D.C. and even when we're home, I mean, the days start early and they go long. And so, we're generally getting started no later than 8 a.m., and then we'll have vote series sometimes that will take us into 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And, there's really no break set in there for lunch. And so you're pretty much on a 30-minute cycle. So every 30 minutes they have my schedule with meetings. Say constituents are up from East Mississippi. I may meet with local board of supervisors or business leaders in D.C., and then they'll have about a 30-minute window. And then after that 30 minutes is up, there'll be another group that'll kind of move in right behind them. And so, but the only good thing about it, one of the good things about it, is it makes the day go by quick. And so when you're busy, you don't have time to sit around and be bored watching the clock. You're constantly moving, constantly engaged. And so I would much prefer an extremely busy day in Washington than a day where we don't have a lot going on.
I hear you. Well, a lot is going on. Of course, now you're, let's see, how many months now into the new presidency? I guess at least 2 or 3. Tell us.
We're coming up on 90 days. Yes, sir.
I was interesting. I saw a photo, I guess it was a video of the border down in Texas, Eagle Pass or somewhere, where they showed the border where it was under the Biden administration. Then they showed it now currently under the Trump administration. So evidently big change down there on the border.
Yeah, and President Trump, I think, made the right statements when he delivered his joint address to Congress when he said, hey, we didn't need new laws to secure the border. We just needed a new president. And we have seen that under President Trump in February and then again in March, the total number of border encounters for the entire southwest border, Roger, was right at 7,000. And so we would have that on a given day in an individual sector back when Joe Biden was in office. I mean, we had months where we were having more than 300. I think one month we hit right at 400,000 encounters for a single month. And President Trump has almost overnight dropped those numbers to where we're at now historic lows. And he did that by reinstating Remain in Mexico, by sending the military there to reinforce our Border Patrol agents, ending the catch and release program that we had seen under the Biden administration. And so, look, President Trump said he was going to secure the border, and I think we can put a check in his column as promises made, promises kept, because our border is more secure now than it has been in decades.
And it's impressive how quickly it took place.
Absolutely. Congressman Rob, I got a quick question. I know the word tariff is being thrown around a lot here lately, and of course the president having a meeting today with the Italian prime minister, and of course Japan recently this week. But what's kind of the talk on the Hill right now with all this tariff discussion here over the last several days?
I'll speak generally, and it also encompasses my view, and I say generally on behalf of most Republicans. I think most Republicans are tired of other countries who have taken advantage of our generous trade policy. They're tired of nations that have used our generosity against us, and they impose much higher tariffs than we do on their goods coming into our country. And the president wants to create a level, fundamental trade policy so that American businesses can compete across the globe. And that's what he is intending to do, and I think that that's ultimately what he will accomplish with these tariff negotiations. I think we begin to see pretty much every nation except China has now reached out to the administration about wanting to renegotiate some of those policies. We know that those negotiations have been and will continue to be ongoing. I think the president, by pausing those tariffs that he announced and those tariffs not going into effect, or at least a portion of those tariffs not going into effect, that is going to help our economy. Particularly, we saw the stock market was unsettled when those tariffs were announced. People have asked me about that, and my answer to them is, we've seen no fundamental shift in our economy. There would be nothing really for the markets to react that way, other than just we know that markets don't necessarily like uncertainty. And so I think the president is playing a long game. There may be, for the next 30, 60, 90 days, we may see increase in some of the goods that we purchase. But I think long term it is going to be beneficial for the American consumer and the American economy. And I have trust that President Trump and his team have a plan in place that they are currently executing, and at this time next year, we're going to see an economy that is going to be hitting on all cylinders, and we're going to see a stock market at an all-time high.
There you go.
I like that. I mean, if that's, again, I do see how quickly impatient Americans are about some of these things. It's especially when their 401ks start dropping, I guess you might understand why. But at the same time, there is a destination on this trip.
It's a marathon, not a sprint, I think. So
that's right. I mean, if you were getting ready to cash out your 401k, if you were getting ready to sell stock, I mean, this momentary lapse in the stock market is going to be extremely painful. If you're someone who has an outlook of a year or more, I think when we talk this time next year and you mark it down on your calendar, we will compare where the stock market is today versus where it's going to be in a year. And look, we know President Trump is a businessman. President Trump wants his legacy to be that he has left an amazing economy for the American people. And so if President Trump's policies begin to have a negative impact, I think you will see him take a pause. I think you will see him reevaluate the plan that he put in place. Because at the end of the day, when President Trump leaves office in 4 years from now, he wants to leave us the greatest economy that America's ever seen. He wants to see our net worth be at an all-time high. But to get there, we've got to get out of some of these unfair trade deals that America has been in over the last several decades.
There's been a lot of controversy over the fact that he wants to actually cut government waste and fraud, and that other word they use.
He wants to doge it.
He wants to doge it. Tell me from where you sit, is this a reality, or are you, as a congressman, in a position where you have to be careful because of the being part of Congress? Tell me your thoughts on this whole Doge thing.
Look. I think if you look at the president's accomplishments so far, you look at one, he secured the border. Two, he got a spending bill across Congress where we actually spent $7 billion less this fiscal year than we did the last fiscal year. And the president has also been very aggressive in cutting waste, fraud, and abuse.
That's the word,
look at
abuse.
some of the information. If you look at what Doge has done, they've uncovered in the unemployment insurance claims going back to 2020. And so this is over basically a 4-year window, that there were over 24,000 people who got $59 million in benefits, Roger, that were over 115 years old. They found that there were 28,000 individuals who got $254 million in benefits who were between ages 1 and 5, and that there were roughly 10,000 people whose birthdays had not yet been born, so their birthdays were 15 years in the future, and they got $70 million in benefits. And so this is one program, one agency,
pay it forward,
to where we see that, even if some of these were errors, those errors should have been caught. Those errors should have been rectified. We should not have people, whose birthdays have not, they're claiming birthdays that are in the future, receiving any benefits, any assistance. And so I believe as we continue to investigate these programs and all of these programs, we're going to continue to find not only millions of dollars, but hundreds of millions of dollars, which are then going to add into billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse. And so the first thing the president is doing is he's turning that waste, fraud, and abuse off. And the second thing that I hope that the president will do and that the Department of Justice will do is that they will begin prosecuting these individuals and holding them accountable for stealing our money.
Hey, there's a concept. Being held accountable for theft.
If there's no punishment, we really haven't accomplished much. And so we've got to stop them from stealing money in the future, but we need to hold them accountable. And I think Pam Bondi and I think this Department of Justice will go after as many of these individuals as we can. And look, if you're stealing money, you need to be in jail. I'm a prosecutor, and look, people need to be held accountable for their actions. And if you're a thief, and if you're stealing the taxpayer money, if you're stealing money that is designed to help those people in need when you don't qualify, those people need to be held accountable. They need to be prosecuted, and they need to go to jail. To me, it's just that simple.
And I do like the idea that just because one has a government job doesn't mean they can't be fired. There's too many times that we have reached out, we have to talk to somebody in a government agency, and that could be on the state level sometimes. And you get the idea that you're talking to a person who knows that whatever level of service they provide you will not matter because their job is secure. So I like the idea that just because a person has a government job doesn't mean it's automatically secure.
Yeah, I mean, everyone should have expectations that they should be expected to meet, and government employees should not feel that in any shape, form, or fashion that they have a job for life.
Hey, there you go.
If people have poor work performance, they should be fired. If the job that they're hired for is no longer needed, jobs need to be phased out. And I agree, and that's one thing that I've tried to stress with my people. I just call it customer service. The people that call into the office, the people that reach out to us, those people are the people that elect us. Those are the people that we serve. they don't serve us. And so when people call us, as long as someone's not calling us being rude and disrespectful and cursing us because they don't like some position that I may have taken, we do our best to try to make sure that we are respectful to everyone that calls in, whether I agree with their position or not. And those individuals that need help, we try to help them. That's one thing that I'm proud of is some of our constituent service work where we're able to help people and kind of navigate some of the federal bureaucracy where people are trying to do things like get their Social Security benefits, or maybe they're entitled to a tax refund and they can't get their refund back from the IRS. We're able to help do those things and be able to help people on a much more localized level navigate some of the federal bureaucracy that some of us just, once we get into, we kind of throw our hands up because we can't find the right place to go, the right person to talk to. And you're right, half the time when we talk to them, they treat us like, the taxpayer works for them instead of the other way around.
Well, you mentioned your personnel, and I'll just tell you this: me and Charlie Ballou, we
don't talk good about Charlie.
No, listen, I'm not. He and I both shared a ride in the back of a sheriff's vehicle the other day.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Well, I hope y'all both made bond.
No,
we love Charlie.
Fortunately, it was a news conference about the new MRAP here in town, so that was pretty cool. But anyway, no, good pick on Charlie there.
Yeah, love old Charlie. He's a good dude.
So, having said that, I was going to say, how welcoming are you?
About Charlie. Charlie is a rock star. We love Charlie. He does an amazing job over there. He's so engaged in the community. He's out at, if not everything, as many things as he could possibly be. And so he is a great representative, a great ambassador for our office over in East Mississippi. And we just are about to hire a young lady from over in East Mississippi who will be going to our Washington office. She'll be starting soon. I can't disclose her name on the air this week, Roger, but we'll be happy to next time we talk after we've got everything nailed down.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to have both Charlie there going to be manning our office in Meridian, and this young lady from East Mississippi is going to be in our D.C. office. So Lauderdale County will be well represented within the 3rd Congressional District office.
Very good. And, of course, having said all of that, how welcoming are you of folks who might have hit a wall in the government process and they need some help? How willing are you for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, look, we do that every day, and we help people navigate those issues. And so those people that qualify for the benefits that Congress has established, we help them navigate that because we want them to be able to receive those benefits. One of the things we do a lot with is VA, dealing with our veterans who have served, who are having trouble either getting the benefits or getting the medical care that they need. My staff works tirelessly on those things. I'll tell you a quick story, Roger. I had a veteran who I was over in Simpson County. It was pre-COVID, and so I was there at the VFW, Veteran of Foreign Wars event, and a veteran came up to me, and he had a Vietnam hat on, and he introduced himself, and he said, "Look, I just want to thank you for the office, for the help that your office provided me." I just followed up with him. I said, "Would you mind kind of sharing your story with me about what we were able to do for you?" And the veteran there reached into had a blazer on, reached into his coat pocket. He pulled out a pair of glasses, and he put those glasses on, and he looked at me and he said, "What do you notice about my glasses?" And I said, "Well, you're missing a lens on the right-hand side." That veteran folded those glasses, put them in his coat, reached into the other coat pocket, and he pulled out a new pair of glasses, and he put them on, and he had this big smile, and he said, "These are my new glasses." He said, "I'm a veteran." He said, "I've been trying to get a new pair of glasses from the VA for over 3 months. I called your office, and 3 days later, your office helped me get this new pair of eyeglasses."
That's great.
And he said, "I know that this is not major to your office." He said, "but I want you to know that it meant more to him than anything else we could have done for him." And so I was extremely proud that I had an office that when a veteran reached out to us and said, "I can't get my eyeglasses through the VA," will you help me? That we were able to not only help him get those glasses, but to do so in a very timely manner. And now we've also had conversations since with the VA to try to make sure we put in place things so that those types of issues don't happen again. But those are some of the things that our office is able to do.
Sure.
We had a young couple who was getting married, and they were getting ready to go on their honeymoon, and they noticed that one of their passports was expired. I don't remember the bride or groom. And so they called our office, asked us if we could help expedite getting the passport. And not only did we get the passport, but Kyle Jordan from my office, he actually delivered the passport to their house for them.
Wow.
To make sure that it arrived on time so that then when they got married that weekend, they could go on the honeymoon. And so those are small things in the big scope of what we do, because most people think of members of Congress and what we do in D.C., introducing legislation, arguing bills, being there on the House floor. But I also have a great staff here in Mississippi who does our constituent service work, and I'm extremely proud of all the people that they're able to help on a regular basis.
Well, sounds good. Of course, I know before we let you go, I do have to ask you about this, because I know a lot of people are investing their time, and a lot of people and groups around Meridian are investing money to try to help promote the idea of bringing the C-46 to the 186. That's, of course, the C-46 being the new generation of tanker that's being built.
Yeah.
So can you give us any update on that progress?
Yeah, so the Air Force came and did a site visit over at Keyfield in December. We were actually the first of 7 sites that they were going to visit. Once all the site visits were done, they were going to compile a scoring and a ranking and then turn that over to the Air Force for the Air Force to be able to make that determination. Since President Trump has come into office, we've seen that there are some new people and some of the key roles there within the Air Force. President Trump has moved to put some people that he has trust in some of these key positions. And so we're waiting on some of those positions to be filled. As I understand, the site visits have either been completed at the other installations.
Yeah, I think they're all completed at this point. Yeah, I think so.
And so we're waiting for kind of some of those appointments by the president to be confirmed. And I would expect that we would see something. I would hope maybe this summer, if not early fall at the latest. But you're right. There has been a great push by the community, by the Mississippi National Guard, by our legislators in the state, our governor's office, and the federal delegation to really push the 186 air refueling wing so that they can receive that next generation of tankers that you talked about, the KC-46. I think it would be a game changer. We'll be looking at 100 new families moving into Meridian, because it will be both a guard and active duty mission combined. I think we are well positioned based on our facilities, based on our staffing, but based on our geographical location. And so I think we have a very good opportunity to be selected. We are continuing to push at the federal level, as I know a lot of our local officials are as well. So we're going to keep putting pressure on the Air Force. And I tell you, it never hurts to have your senior senator serve as chairman of the Armed Services Committee in the United States Senate. And so good. I know that Senator Wicker has weighed in heavily. And we hope that will be something that will help push Meridian to the front of that pack once the selection is finally made.
Well, we'll all keep our fingers crossed. Well, whichever you believe. Probably best just to pray. That's the hell thing. All right. Well, listen, we thank you for taking time to speak with us today. Congressman Michael Guest checking in. Of course, anything you want to add before we let you go this morning?
No, look, just again, want to wish you and your listeners a happy Easter. We know that this is an important weekend for us as we celebrate the resurrection of Christ and his after his death on the cross for his offering himself as a sacrifice and our salvation. So just want to remind all your listeners. It is Easter Sunday, and hope everyone has the opportunity to celebrate that important day with their family. And I look forward to seeing y'all soon, Roger, when I'm back over Meridian.
Hey, that sounds good. And if you would do me just one little favor, if you'd take a little Easter basket over to AOC for me, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, no.
AOC, I'll make sure I put some chocolate eggs, and I'll tell them that.
Mainly some Peeps.
Courtesy,
Yeah.
Yeah, Peeps. There you go. That's right. So,
Okay.
when I see her next week, I'll make sure I wish her happy Easter just from you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Congressman Michael Guest, thank you for joining us.
Good talking to you, gentlemen. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
All righty. Always good to hear
Always
from
good
the
to hear that.
congressman. When we come back, we're going to talk about Boy Scouts. James